Okay, everybody. Well, it's great to see so many smiling faces in the Hollywood Squares boxes, if you will. We're thrilled that you're here, and we're thrilled to be able to offer this informative grant management seminar in this kind of online platform to make it easier for everyone to learn about the grants and also hopefully get you and your clubs to participate, because as our famous past international director, Mike McCullough, says, it's not about the money, but what the money can do. And these grants are all about doing great things in our communities and around the world. So welcome, welcome. For those who do not know me, my name is Sue Goldsen. I'm a past district governor from the awesome year of 2016-17, which is wild to me that is already 6-7 years ago. And this year, I'm honored to be the District Rotary Foundation Committee Chair. And we are always available, myself and Rick Caron, who is our Grants Overview Chair. Rick held the position I currently have before. So it's awesome to have him on the team because he's got my back every step of the way, and I could definitely use that support. So between Rick, myself, Elvira, and many others who sit on our committee, we're happy always to be here to help your club and Rotarians in your club to be able to do great work and apply for these wonderful grants that are available. So today during the seminar, we're going to talk about various different types of grants. The first one we're going to talk about is the Rotary Foundation District Community Grant. We're going to talk about global grants. We're going to talk about grant funding. And for Kim and everybody else on the phone here tonight, we are going to be speaking about our MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, what the club qualifications are for these grants. We're going to talk about grant stewardship, which is critical because we want to make sure that the money that Rotarians and the Rotary Foundation in turn give to us in the form of these grants are well taken care of and maintained. And then we're going to touch real quickly on the District 6400 Rural Community Service District matching grants with our District Governor-elect, Russ Jones. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Elvira DeJesu, who will talk to you about the Rotary Foundation District Community Grants.
Thanks, Sue. Hi, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here, and I'm learning lots from Rick Caron. So if there's any hard questions, I'll be deferring to him. But Rotary Foundation grants are one of the types of grants that you can apply for. And like all the work that we do in Rotary, these grants obviously have to fulfill the 7 pillars of the Rotary work that we do in building goodwill, world understanding, peace, health, education, and alleviating poverty. Okay, there are certain conditions that must be met in order to qualify for these grants. One, clubs must be qualified, and that will be delineated further on in this presentation. Must be eligible to receive grant funding, which again will be explained further, and Rotarians must be involved in the project. So your club and club members should be involved. Projects can be either local or international within the district community grant umbrella. So you can either apply as a single club for a project, or you can be part of a collaborative grant, which involves your club and other clubs. So if you're going to apply as a single club, you must contribute at least $1,000 to that project. And the district will match your club's contributions up to $2,500. So if your club creates a project that's worth $2,500, and the district will match, you can have a $5,000 project. Of course, non-Rotarian cash is welcome, but it is not matched. So if your project is in excess of $5,000 and you have others contribute, that's fine. The other type of grant that you can apply for within the community grant is a collaborative grant. And this is where you work with other clubs. There must be at least 2 to 4 clubs involved. The clubs can each contribute at least $500 or $1,000, and the district will match each club's contribution up to $1,000. So if you have 4 clubs, for example, and each of those clubs contributes $1,000, you will have a total of 8, 4,000 coming from the clubs, 4,000 coming from the district, for a total of $8,000. Again, non-rotary cash is welcome, so you can certainly have a project that is in excess of $8,000 if you're getting contributions from other sources. In 2023, we had a very productive year. We had 16 single club projects. We had 6 collaborative club projects involving 2 to 4 clubs. We had 3 of the projects were international, 2 in Ghana and 1 in Nigeria. And the total value of the projects was $109,600 US. So you can see the scope and breadth of the work that our clubs have been doing, our district clubs have been doing. And $47,895 of that amount came from the district. So that's quite a contribution, and a lot of good work has been done. So important information. Do not start the project or spend the money until an email has been received that your club project has been approved. The email is sent to the applicant, the club president, the secretary, and treasurer. So there should be more than one person receiving that email. You must pay for the total cost of the projects up front. So for example, let's say you do a project for $5,000 and you're expecting $2,500 to come from the district. You have to upfront the $5,000, and then you will get the district's portion once the project is completed and the final report is submitted. The report is due on or before May 31st of the next Rotary year. So that's a really important date to put in your calendars, because we need to receive that report so that you can get your money, and you'll see why it's really, really important that we do things in a timely fashion in a moment. So where do you get the grant applications? And again, this is to what Kim was asking before. So if you go on the Rotary64.org website and you go to the tab Foundation, then under Foundation, you will select Rotary Foundation Grants. And then you scroll down and you will see that there's the application for either a single club project or a collaborative project. And there's also the spot where to upload your final report. So step 1, the applications are received, and Sue, along with a whole committee, will review the grant applications. Step 2, Rick Caron will bundle all of the packages. All of our applications are submitted to Rotary International as a district block grant. So once they're all received and have been approved, then he submits that submission to Rotary International. The application is submitted after all district community grant projects from the previous year were completed and the report approved and the reimbursement checks cashed. So that brings me back to that point why May 31st is important. We can't move forward with next year's grants until we've completed and submitted all of the reports and the checks have been cashed. So if you got a check back this year, don't let it sit on a desk, please. Make sure that you go and cash that check so that we can move forward with next year's grants. And then when Rotary Foundation approves the district block, that's all of our collective applications together, then the grant, you will be advised that you can begin your project. And once you have that approval, then you can feel assured that you will be getting the district portion of the money for your project.
Thanks, Elvira. Does anybody have any questions?
On those grants?
Okay, if no one, see in the chat.
Click.
Okay, so I think we're ready to go with part two.
Hang
the
on
Rotary
a quick
Foundation
one
Global
second.
Grants.
Wait
Oh.
1 second.
Yeah,
Leona may have a
Leona
question.
may have a question.
sure.
Leona, please.
Leona, please.
Sorry, I was trying to use
Sorry,
my
I was trying to use my
space bar.
space bar.
You
You
indicated that
indicated that
May
May
31st
31st
is the
is
deadline
the
for final
deadline for final
reports.
reports.
If we've
If
spent the
we've
money
spent the
prior
money
to,
prior to,
can we submit
can
it,
we
say,
submit it,
January?
say, January?
The report can be submitted as soon as the project's completed. And so it's not
Okay.
just having spent the money, but the project has to be completed. And the sooner they're submitted, the happier we are, because we can knock them off our list and not have to worry about it. So please, yes, do your project, submit the report. We have a committee of 3 people that review the report, me, Elvira, and Margaret Williamson. And as soon as we're all happy with the report, we write an email to Dan Lito, the treasurer, and he issues the check.
Thank you.
So it can go
Thank
pretty
you.
quickly. Yeah.
Okay, Rick, it's all
Okay,
yours.
Rick, it's all yours.
Thank you. And thanks, Elvira. This is Elvira's first time presenting at a grant management seminar, and I think she did very well. So thank you for that. And thank you for accepting the opportunity to serve in this way. I'm going to talk about the Rotary Foundation Global Grants. And these are the large ones. They must be at least $30,000 in total value. And they must also align with one of Rotary's areas of focus. And there are 7 there. There are all the things that anybody would imagine, and many of you have seen them before, but a new one is the environment. And then there's peace building and conflict prevention, disease prevention and treatment, water sanitation and hygiene, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, and community economic development. And so just to stress that every single global grant, regardless of the type, and we'll talk about 3 types in a moment, must be in one of these areas of focus. Unlike the district community grants, these global grants must involve 2 Rotary clubs from different countries. Now notice I don't say from different districts, which is a very natural thing to want to say, but we have some global grants or some districts that already span 2 countries, and they can take advantage of that. But they must involve 2 different countries. There's a host partner, and that's the partner, the Rotary Club, where the grant action takes place. And there's the international partner, and that's the place often where the funding comes from, or the initiation of the global grant comes from, in our experience anyways. So for example, if we have a club that does a project in Egypt, then Egypt is the host country, and United States or Canada would be the international country or the international partner. Global grants, there are 3 kinds: a global scholar grant, a vocational training team grant, and all the others are referred to as humanitarian grants. And each one of these 3 have to be at least $30,000, have to have the 2 partners, international and host, and have to be in one of the areas of focus. And they all are applied for online. For the Global Scholar Grants, we have 3 recent ones. Francis Okpala is a student from Nigeria. He's studying in Canada, in Manitoba. And his area of focus is the environment. We have Rio Ueda, who is Japanese and funded completely by her district in Japan and the Rotary Foundation. And she's studying at Wayne State University, disease prevention and treatment. And she's already a medical doctor advancing her degrees. And Madison Vorva was supported by mainly the Plymouth Rotary Club. And she studied in Oxford, and her area of focus was community economic development. And I should point out that these scholarships are for graduate level work. So people have to have had an undergraduate degree, and they have to have had some working experience showing their dedication or their involvement in the area of focus in which they want to pursue their undergraduate or their graduate degrees. So global grants scholars, so Sue, next point. So yes, must be for graduate work, and they have to study outside the country of residence. When they apply, they have to have the admission letter from the university at the time of application and has to be submitted. And that means that, and the application has to be submitted at least 3 months before travel. If you are going to start your education in September, then you better be looking at now to submit the application to make sure it gets approved in time, and then you can make all your travel arrangements in time. So there is a lot of advanced work to be done there. And clubs, again, clubs are the ones that would apply for a Global Scholar. Any club can have their candidate apply for the single district supported global grant scholarship. And this is important because this single district supported global grant scholarship, most of the funding comes from the district. Sue? Colleen Mitchell is the chair. She's at the Rotary Club of Windsor Wide. And in this grant, it's going to be $30,000. And the club need only contribute $3,000. They can do more, but they have to at least give $3,000. The district will give $15,000, and the Rotary Foundation through the World Fund will contribute $12,000. And that's how we get to the 33 from the club, 15 from the district, 12 from the Rotary Foundation. And all of the applicants will be interviewed by a committee that Colleen puts together, and one will be chosen and supported by the district, and the others can still go forward if the club chooses to put up $15,000 or actually $12,000 and apply for a regular global grant. They can still get district support, but it would be $10,000 instead of $15,000. This year we had 3 applicants for the district's Global Scholar support, and we chose 1, and the application is now being put forward. The deadline for this application is March 1st of each year. This gives us enough time to interview the candidates and to work with them to help them put forward the best possible application so that it does get approved by the Rotary Foundation. Sue? We also have vocational training teams, or VTT, global grants. And these global grants are about sending experts to another country where they don't have the expertise and training them in a particular area of focus to help them advance in their communities. Just very recently, a maternal health VTT was approved for rural Tanzania, and this is a project of Windsor 1918. And prior to that, we've had a dental training in Ghana, a teacher training in Ghana. We've had math education in Tanzania and medical training in Ethiopia. Those are marked as being district global grants because we were in the practice of letting every district governor choose a vocational training team, and the district would fund that vocational training team. Now we have instead given the district governor the same amount of money, but the opportunity to invest in a global grant different than a vocational training team. So you'll see more like number 1, where they are club-sponsored vocational training teams. The support we have for vocational training teams, Mary Jean Gallagher from the Rotary Club of Windsor Roseland, and our 2025-26 District Governor, Linda Morrow, also from Windsor Roseland. And if you're thinking about putting together a vocational training team global grant application, talk with them and they can support you through that process. Global grants are a much more complicated kind of grant for which to apply, and it's nice to have some help to help you along the way. Sue? For every single Rotary Foundation grant, whether it be, well, except for Global Scholar, so whether it's a vocational training team or a humanitarian grant, you have to have a community needs assessment. And this is more and more serious every year with the Rotary Foundation. It ensures that the project that they are funding with the money donated to the Rotary Foundation is in fact a project that is needed and desired and will be supported by the people that will benefit from the grant. That means you have to interview the people there and talk to them about what they want. And it's really important to not go there and say, we are thinking about doing this. Would you like to have this? That's not a community needs assessment. That is, do you want us to give you money assessment? And the answer is almost always yes. People don't turn down gifts or any kind of support, even if it's not the most needed support. You need to go there and talk to the community and have them tell you what it is that they want and what they need and what their priorities are. And there's a special form that must be submitted with your grant application to show that that has been done. And if you were talking about a project that involves women particularly, but not just, water projects and whatever is going to impact a community, the Rotary Foundation likes you to have someone interview the women of the community differently than the men in the community, so that we can actually hear their voice and not just hear the men's voices. So it's complicated. Very often you can have your Rotary Club partner do this needs assessment for you. They are the people that are there, and it avoids you having to travel to another country to do the needs assessment. The committees, there has to be a committee of at least 3 Rotarians from each of the 2 clubs. And you have to work with the partner club to develop an implementation plan. So you need to talk to each other about how is this going to work, how is it going to roll out, what things have to be done first, what things can be done second, when are things going to be purchased, how are we going to get them there? And all of that drives the creation of a budget, which is the things to be purchased, and a funding plan. In the budget, for some of the larger items, you will be asked to show that you have consulted with several sources to make sure that you are getting a good price. So they'll ask for what they call a pro forma invoice or an estimate of the equipment. There's a grant going through right now where a lot of kitchen equipment is going to be bought for women in Cairo, and the Rotary Foundation has come back and said, where are your estimates from different countries that we know that, or from different companies that we know you're getting the best prices. The funding plan, this is where the money comes from. So the budget is where the money is going to be spent. The funding is where it's going to come from. And when you submit your grant, those 2 numbers must be identical. So you have to have the money to buy the things that you say you want to buy. And we'll talk about where money can come from in a little bit. You need to be realistic here with the budget and the funding. You need to make sure that you can buy the things that you need to have for the project. Don't try and cheap out, or don't try and pad. It's for me, it's a very simple thing. You buy the things that you need to buy, and you don't buy the things that you do not need to buy. And by need, I mean the things that will make the project successful. Those pro forma invoices are the need to use competitive bidding, Sue. And everything, the prices should be reasonable, and the Rotary Foundation has a good deal of expertise, so they understand these things. If there are conflicts of interest, you have to say that. A typical conflict of interest might be that some equipment or some services will be purchased from a Rotarian or a Rotarian-owned company. Rotarians cannot make money off the Rotary Foundation. It does not mean to say that Rotarians can't provide services. In fact, and sometimes that's the only place to get the services. But we have to make sure, and the Rotary Foundation has to make sure, that those services are at reasonable costs and that there are no other choices. And if there are other choices, that you showed a competitive bidding process. A recent example of this is that, and it's happened a couple of times, where a global scholar has moved into a residence owned by a Rotarian instead of living on campus. And the costs are quite a bit, or significantly less, for students not living on campus. And it makes a lot of sense, but we still have to have that vetted and declared to the Rotary Foundation. So the funding must match the budget. Typically, a grant might look like this. A club gives a contribution of $12,000. Sorry if this being out of order. The district will give money up to $10,000, so let's say $10,000. And the World Fund matches what the district gives, 80 cents on the dollar. So it's really important to have that district contribution there, because that gets matched by the Rotary Foundation. So contribution by the club of $12,000 can turn into a $30,000 project. So it's quite important to get those matches. Sue? Oops, so it looks like, oh yeah, so here's another kind of example that might occur. So you might go around and say, hey, we have a project that's bigger than $30,000, what can you do? Well, you can, maybe your club number 1 and your club gives 12,000, then you ask other clubs for money, and so club 2 gives 1,000, and then maybe you get a third club to give 500. You ask the district for funds and they give 10,000, And you can also, then you get that match at 8,000, but you can also go to other districts and ask them to donate money. So maybe you've got some other district to give $5,000, then that would be matched by the Rotary Foundation World Fund for 4,000. And then your total grant here, and then maybe you went to a private foundation and you got someone to give you 15,000, and maybe some people gave personal donations of 500. And so by asking and reaching out, you can have your club's $12,000 end up in a 50, 60,000 or even more valuable project. And Elvira has one of the best examples I've seen in a while, where she has built projects, I think 2 different global grants, they each well over $150,000 in value, by reaching out to many clubs, many districts, many foundations, and even interact clubs to make contributions. Global grants, the nice thing is that there is no application deadline. Everything is online. You can start a global grant at any time. When you open up the global grant application, you need a minimum of, well, you need to have some information ready to go. You need a title. You need to know where it's going to be, and you need to know the partners of your Rotary Club partners, and you need to know the committee members' names, both for your club and for the partner club. With that information, you can actually open up a grant application and start working with it online and have it develop. So everything is online. This time you don't go to the district website. That's where you got the district community grant information. You go to the Rotary Foundation website or the Rotary International website. If you click under the Take Action menu item, it'll open up 3 columns, and you go to Apply for Grants and hit the Grant Center. There are other buttons you can press to get to the same place, but that's what I normally do. And then you'll see this page open up, and you hit the Apply for a Grant button. And then, Sue, what happens after that? I think, yeah. Okay, so go back up one, Sue. Sorry. Back up again. Yeah, so once you hit the Apply for Grant, it'll open up a blank grant application document, and you start completing the sections of the application. There are like 8 sections, and you can save it and go back and change it as it goes along. As soon as you open up the application, it's in what's called draft stage, and I see it almost immediately because I check every couple of days to see what's happening. And I may start a conversation with you. So what are you doing? Are you going to be looking for district money? How can I help? I'm here to help you along the way. But this is where now we start to see the grant application. Once you have completed the actual application and filled in all the boxes, and you have your funding and your budget in place, you submit it, and it goes into what's called authorization stage. And this is where the district governors in both districts, the club presidents of both clubs, and the district Rotary Foundation coordinators, or the SU, of both districts have to say, yes, we authorize this grant to go forward. Once that happens, then it goes to the approval stage, and then, or sorry, to the submitted stage. And once it's submitted, now it's in the hands of the Rotary Foundation, and we can't make changes to it anymore. It's now locked, and they review it, and typically they'll have at least one email back to say, so this is what we think you're trying to do. We have a couple of questions. Would you answer these questions for us? And sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 5 or 6 or 7. It depends on how well the grant application was created in the first instance. And this is where it's good to talk to me or Elvira, or anyone for VTTs, oh my God, Linda or Mary Jane Gallagher, and for the scholars, Colleen Mitchell, to get some help. After it's reviewed successfully by the Rotary Foundation, it goes to approval stage, and the money will flow to your bank account. So where are we in the district right now? In the draft stage, we have 7 projects. We have given $39,300 committed money from the district, and the project totals are $673,700. Right now, there are no projects in the authorization stage, which is nice. That means they're being developed or they're being reviewed, which is great. We have 4 that are submitted, currently under review. The district has donated $15,000 to those projects, and the total value of those projects is over $1 million. So you can see this matching thing really works out well. And in the active stage, so these are global grants in which our district is involved in some way. For some of them, the only involvement is that we have given money. For many others, we are the lead club, and for others, we're the partner club. So it's kind of all over the place. But of those 40 projects, the district has given 270,000, and the total is just under 6 million. Altogether, our district and our clubs are involved in some way in global grants that total over $7.7 million. And so this is how the money of the Rotary Foundation goes to work. And this is how big things get done. I mean, this is an astounding figure, set over $7.7 million. Some of these things are grants like the Guatemala Literacy Project. We have 5 or 6 clubs in our district that give money to support that, but they probably have up to 10 other districts and 30 or 40 clubs that contribute to this project, and that makes it a very, very large project. But still, we are proud to be a participant, like many other clubs and districts, in these valuable projects. Okay, next slide, please.
I'm just going to jump in for 1 second, if I could. And I just want to say that what has been amazing to me and to watch this year with the global grants is there are clubs who are partnering with new people around the world, and I'm seeing new things happen. So every club, can do that, and it's awesome to see new clubs get involved who've never done it before. So I really encourage everyone to give it a shot.
Thank you. Okay, next slide. So if your grant is funded, and once it's funded, you have to start giving reports. So the first progress report is due 12 months after the first payment. So once the Rotary Foundation gives you the money, the clock starts. 12 months later, you have to report on how it's going. If it's not finished, why is it not finished? What are you doing? What's the progress that's being made? Then, as long as the grant stays alive, so it's not completed, every 12 months requires another report. And once the project is finished, the final report has to be there within 2 months. So there is a lot of bookkeeping. The Rotary Foundation takes care of the money that is given to it by donors to make sure that it's being properly handled and managed, and that the projects it thinks are being done are the projects that actually are being done. So where does money come from? Particularly, where does this district money come from? Well, clubs. District funding comes from something called district designated funds. So it's a mouthful. We always say DDF. So whenever in the previous slides I said money comes from the district, it comes from this pot of money called district designated funds. Our district has a water and sanitation fund. So if your global grant has a water component, you can apply to our district for money from this fund to help with the funding. Other foundations, personal donations, etc. And bullet point 3, and anything that comes as a DDF dollar, so dollars from the district, those are the dollars that are matched by the Rotary Foundation, 80%, or 80 cents on the dollar. So these district designated funds are like magic dollars. And where do they come from? In this picture, you'll see that 3 years in the past, so it's a rolling thing. So 3 years ago, our district, its clubs and its members have given a certain amount of money to the annual fund, the annual program fund. So these are dollars typically that Rotarians have donated to the Rotary Foundation to the annual fund, not to the polio fund, not to disaster relief, but to the annual fund contributions. Of all that money, 45% of it goes to this World Fund. So when I said that the Rotary Foundation matches 80 cents in the dollar, this is where they get that 80 cents from. 5% goes to administration of the Rotary Foundation grants programs. Back up. Yep, and then 50% comes back to us. So what our district gave 3 years ago, half of that money now becomes available to the district in these special dollars called district designated funds. And every time we spend one of those dollars, we get 80% back from the World Fund. So we get the money back in these big projects. Next. So now these district designated funds, what do we do with it? Well, the first thing we do is we put $1,000 to administrative support from the district. And this pays mainly for something called ShareFile, which is like a cloud storage place where we, in fact, every club has an account. And if you don't have an account and don't know about it, let me know and I can give you your account and set up your password for you. We'll set up your account for you. So you can, any club can store whatever they want on this ShareFile resource. So it's there for you. What we particularly do with it is store all of the grant documents, because if we are ever audited by the Rotary Foundation, we want to be able to go to a single source and get access to all the records online. You don't want to do like 20 years ago, where we're trying to find a Rotarian who happened to be the grant management person for their club for that year, who has a box of things in a basement and a pile of other boxes. And gee, we would really like to have those. Oh, they're not even Rotarians anymore, or they moved to another state. All right, we want everything on this system. We take 20% and we give it to the End Polio campaign. So we give some back to Rotary, and 30% of it we use for the global grants, and half minus that 1,000 is what we put into the district grants program. So the program that Elvira talked about, most of the money goes to that program. And of the money that we set aside for global grants, we have that governor's project that I talked about. So $16.6 thousand, and that's just enough so that when it's matched by the World Fund, it makes a $30,000 global grant. And so each governor in their year can decide on a global grant project that they want to support with these funds. We save $15,000 aside for that district global scholar, and then we have all the rest available to clubs to apply for their global grant projects. So for this year coming up, in addition to the money that we have in the pot already from previous years that kind of roll over bit by bit, we have $39,700 in new money to match club contributions for global grants. So there's money there for you to do your global grant projects. The Water and Sanitation Fund, there's currently $11,700 in that fund. That is renewed every year because there's a big pot of money that many members of our district, particularly those that are members of the Arch Clump Society. The Arch Clump Society are a group of Rotarians that have committed at least $250,000 to the Rotary Foundation. And Rotarians in our district that have done this have supported the Water and Sanitation Fund, and we get to spend the interest on it for water and sanitation projects. So thank you to our Rotarians that have given large amounts of money to the Rotary Foundation. So as long as your global grant project has a water and sanitation component, you can talk to us and we can help you fund your project through this pot of money. Two. Oh, and we allow one club per year, one request per club per year. And how do you apply for it? You talk to Sue or you talk to me and you say you're interested, and we start figuring out how we're going to make it happen and how much we can give to you. All right, so it's important for transparency that every Rotarian and every Rotary Club understands how the district gives out and allocates those DDF dollars. So if you go to the district website under Foundation and again under Rotary Foundation grants and scroll down, you'll see a document, DDF allocation policies. So we have a written approved policy on how we allocate the money. We, to try and make things fair, so it's not just first kick at the can, doesn't necessarily get the money. We have 3 periods in the year, 3 times during the year in which we look at all of the current applications that are outstanding, and then we see what we can do to help them out. If we have the money, typically we will give the money to the clubs for their projects. Of course, there's always a possibility that more money is asked for than we have, and then we have to make decisions. But keep in mind, April 15th, October 15th, and February the 15th, and if you forget those days, you can ask me or you can ask Sue, and we'll remind you that those are the days we have set aside in the calendar to review all applications for DDF dollars. And these are really important dollars. They get matched 80 cents to the dollar by the Rotary Foundation. It's what grows your club money. The part 4, now, in order to get access to these special DDF dollars, you have to be qualified. And so what does that mean? It means that At first, at least one member of your club must complete this grant management seminar, and that's why Sue takes attendance at the beginning, so we know who has been here and who has not. The officers of the club must sign a memorandum of understanding, and that includes an addendum from the district, and I'll talk about what that means in a moment. And there's a signature page at the end of this document, and all we want you to do is send us the signature page. We don't need everyone's copy of the actual memorandum rules. We know what they are. So you just need to send us the signatures page. And by us, I mean to Margaret Williamson. She is our stewardship chair. And then she'll record. Sue will have the record of who's attended the seminars. Margaret will have the record of who's given the MOUs. And we put all that together to find out who's qualified. Sue? The blank MOU is available on our website. You can ask also Sue, Rick, or Margaret for a copy. But also, we've changed the template so that it's the same, starting last year, it's the same MOU document going forward. So if you have one on file somewhere in your club records, it's the same MOU year after year. We've just removed all of the references to the actual Rotary year that we're in. It needs to be signed by the current club president. So the current club president now means the 2022-23 club president, the president in Tracy's year. Then the current club president-elect, which would be the president working with Russ Jones, next year's president. And then the club president nominee the year after that. Those are the people that have to sign. Very often clubs don't know who their president nominee is. If it hasn't been decided, then the current club treasurer can be a signatory on a grant. Some clubs have a current club president is the same as their president-elect. That's fine, they sign both. It's not that we need 3 people, it's just that these grants usually go over a 3-year period, and so we want all club presidents to be aware of the grant obligations that their club has with that global grant process. And again, send that to Margaret Williamson. So to get district support, so the previous things, your club is qualified and you can apply for global grants. You will not get DDF money from us, but you can apply for the global grants. You cannot apply for the district community grants, the ones Elvira talked about, because those are all built on DDF dollars. In order to get these DDF dollars, you have to be qualified, and your club must have given at least $100 per capita to the annual program fund in this current year. That's to be qualified for the next year. We look at the official membership numbers from July 1, 2022, and we look at the total donations to the annual fund at the end of this year. So membership at the beginning of the year, total contributions during the year. And so again, if you haven't met that benchmark, you cannot apply for a district community grant, and you cannot get DDF or district support for your global grants. So the MOU, what's in there? The MOU talks about club qualification, which we've talked about. And it talks about the responsibilities of the club officers. So the ones that sign it have responsibilities. And so inside that MOU, which you should read, talks about the expectations on management of the finances and bank accounts and other things that you have to do. They're mechanical things for the management of the grant, something we call grant stewardship. And Sue. Of course, we tell you in there about the eligibility to receive district support. So a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the grant management seminar is captured very neatly in the memorandum of understanding. And so your support for all global grants, humanitarian, vocational training team, and global scholars, you can always talk to me and Elvira. We work as a team on these things. And what we're actually doing is trying to convince Elvira and trainer to take over my job in just another year now, well, 2 years, I guess. Okay. So next slide, grant stewardship. So Margaret is the stewardship chair, but I will talk to this part of the grant management seminar as well. Stewardship is pretty easy. I think of it as, I always try to imagine the worst possible case or the best possible case. I imagine young kids in let's say elementary school that are told a story about all the wonderful things that Rotary does around the world. and perhaps helping other kids their age with their educational programs. And they get so motivated and so desirous of being able to help that they go home and they break open the piggy bank and they come back and they collect up their money and they donate it to the Rotary Foundation. If I know this is where the money has come from, I know I'm going to want to spend that money very, very carefully. And I'm going to want to be able to tell the kids and look them in the eyes and say, we have done good things with your money. For me, this is a simplicity of grant stewardship. Take care of the money that has been given to you in trust by the donors to do your projects. And that means that we want Rotarians supervising the money. We want good financial records. We want strong financial control. We want proper use and safeguard of all the funds. And we want you to tell us if there's any potential conflict of interest or anything irregular in the spending or the control of the funds. If you have problems with the money, let us know right away so we can tackle those problems head on and deal with them before they become worse. And we want the submission of reports. We need to report what's happening. The Rotary Foundation has a 4-star, which is the highest rating under Charity Navigator for, I think, I don't know, it's probably this 14th year that it now has that. And it's because it takes care of the money, which means we take care of the money that we get from the foundation. And share file is that place where we store the documents. Sue? Probably the biggest thing that is new or a surprise to people when they get a global grant is the need to have a bank account. If your club has 3 global grant projects going, you need to have 3 bank accounts, one for each global grant. And the expectation is that the opening balance is 0 and that the closing balance is 0, and that you have a record of all transactions in and out of that bank account, which you must include in your final report to the Rotary Foundation. They need to see the money in and the money out. One of the things that surprises people is that you can add money to that bank account. So let's suppose you have a grant, global grant for $30,000, and the money is given to you by the foundation, and your bank is sitting there with $30,000, and somebody comes by and says, oh, I really want to support your project. Here's another $2,000 for your project. Don't put that money in this bank account, because that money is outside the global grant. You can store it somewhere else, and you can spend it and report to that person who gave it to you, but it does not belong in the global grant account. Only what's in the global grant application goes in and out of that account. You need to control and record how you're going to disperse those funds. Currency exchange is a challenge because it fluctuates quite a bit, especially if you're working outside North America. And so I always encourage people that whenever they exchange money, to keep the record which shows how much they gave and how much they got in the new currency. And that is a benchmark for what the value of the dollar was at the time it was spent. The Rotary Foundation does have some monthly reports on their official exchange rates, but they don't have them for every currency. So for example, I've worked in Tanzania and there's no official exchange rate for Tanzanian shillings. So keep those records. You need receipts, not invoices. I don't care if someone told you how much it cost. I care that you spent money and they got the money for the thing that you purchased. And so you need that record. In many countries, receipts are a foreign, pun intended, concept. When I do a global grant project or any kind of Rotary project, I bring a receipt book with me, so I know that it can be filled out and signed whenever necessary. And there are some countries where exchange money transfer in and out is an issue. India is one in particular, but not the only. And so you just need to make sure what all the rules are concerning transfer of money. Rotary Foundation has a pretty good idea, and they will often, when you apply for the grant, make a note, hey, there could be some problems here. You better talk to us to make sure we do things properly. Okay, Sue? You need to store your documents, all your documents, for at least 5 years. And this could include all email correspondence. I think that's a bit much, but why not? Things related specifically to the grant. Your community assessment should be there. Your MOU should be there. All quotes and contracts, really anything to do with the grants, particularly the receipts and invoices. And these all should be stored electronically. Nobody needs paper copies of anything. If you want a paper copy, you knock yourself out. We don't want paper copies mailed to us, and we're not going to store paper copies. That's what ShareFile is for. And when you share electronic documents, please give some consideration to naming the file something different from document 1, document 2, document 3. If I give you an envelope on it and 10 envelopes and every envelope has document 1 written on the cover, what do you have to do? You have to open up every envelope to see what's inside, and you're frustrated. Same thing for electronic records. If I have document 1, document 2, I have to open up each document to see what's inside. Why not use the file name as kind of a label so we know what to expect? It makes it much easier if there's an audit. Next slide, please. So this ends our Rotary Foundation Grant Seminar. We try to hit the high points to give you a good overview of the whole grant system, knowing full well that even though we could fill an hour with details, that people don't remember the details anywhere. It's much more important for you to have a flavor for the kinds of things that are expected of you. And when it's time for you to do a global grant or a district community grant, you know where to reach out, you know where to get some help. And as always, when you start to do it, that's when you really want the information. And so we're available to you to help you get that information at the time that you're actually doing the application. But hope you appreciate this shortened grant management seminar that we have now put together. Many years ago, it was a 4-hour process. And so we think we've come to a really nice place. So thank you for your attention. Thank you, Elvira, and thank you, Sue. And the next part is not about the Rotary Foundation, and it's not about the committee that Sue chairs. It's about a district foundation and a district grant, and it's managed quite differently. And we have the district governor-elect, the inimitable Russ Jones, to talk to you about that. Take it away.
Russ, before you get started, if I could real quick, I'm just going to ask if anybody has any questions as it pertains to the Rotary Foundation that Rick, myself, or Elvira can answer for you. And I also want to point out to you that today's session is going to be, has been recorded. A version of it will be put up on the district website where the grant management seminar section is under foundation. Also, a copy of the slides that we had will be there. And as Rick has pointed out, and Elvira has as well, we are always here to answer questions. So does anybody have anything that they want to bring up right now before I turn it over to Russ?
Betty Kerr
Yeah,
had
so
one.
Betty-
Hey, Betty,
Yep.
please. Betty, please.
I answered it online. Betty asked, said, didn't we used to have 2 people? And the answer is yes, we made the change last year. 1 person is what the Rotary Foundation requires. The district used to require 2, and we've come in line with the Rotary Foundation and only require 1.
Yes, Gordon. Yes, Gordon.
You mentioned a minimum of $30,000. Is there a maximum?
There's no real maximum, but once you get into, I think the first benchmark might be at 250,000, then it's a whole different review process. A cadre of Rotarians will actually go on site and visit, I think before the grant and also after the grant. So it's a much more involved process, Gordon, but it still fits in the global grant. I think the largest global grants I've seen now are like $500,000-$600,000, like Guatemala, Literacy, and so on. So there's some quite large ones.
Okay, well, we'll think big.
Yeah, think big. Always think big, Gordon.
Okay. Nobody else? Let's try it that. Mr. Russ Jones, our district governor-elect.
The World Community Service District Matching Grants are funded by the Governor's Golf Outing that we hold every year. And that's why we ask that you support that in any way that you can by playing or sponsoring. And often we call these the Golf Outing Grants. The applications are due. We review them twice a year. This is strictly for our districts, clubs. They're international only, but it's very free form. You don't need to have a partner in the other country. You can put things together. Kim Spiro has done quite a few of these. I'm sure she'll be happy to help. Kim, I see her on the call. And so you need to get your application in. These applications are available on the district website on the foundation tab, and then you you look down the little drop down list and you'll see the district foundation right there. Go to the next. Do you have another slide? There you go. District foundation right there. So you go there. There's an application link. You can download that. I believe it's a fillable form, a Word document. You can download it and then submit it to the district governor, which currently would be Tracy. They are due no later than April 1st and October 1st, on or before April 1st or October 1st. So this upcoming grant cycle is pretty short. As it says here on the screen, international projects, and we will match up to twice the dollar amount that your club has pulled together to do this this project. It's typically most clubs will ask somewhere between $1,000 and about $2,500, but there's no set numbers. A lot has to do with what we have available, and usually we try and keep it to about 10,000 just to make sure that we have sufficient funds for the next cycle. They're reviewed shortly after the deadline by the Governor's Council, which would be the two previous district governors, which would be Noel and Aruna, as well as Tracy, the district governor-elect, myself, and then the district governor nominee, which is currently Nick Krajicic. So we review those, we discuss them, and we get back to you right away. This is very quick. We pre-fund these. You don't have to put the money up and hope to get it from us down the road. We pre-fund it. However, that is, it's on you to make sure that you get that report in within 30 days of the completion of the project with receipts. We ask for pictures, and we also ask that if you go out of the country, or to please bring back some items that might represent that country or that project, and that we can then auction off at the golf outing to help raise money for future projects. The reporting form is called a Word document or a Google Doc. We don't care. You can just send it to us. It's a free form report just describing how you spent the money, the outcome. We need to see the results, and a basic listing of your expenses. And if we ask, you need to have the receipts available. If there's not 100 of them, you can send them with the report. And that's about it. Unless, Rick, did I miss something? Or Sue?
No, I just am reiterating that here it is on the website,
Yep.
Again, under foundation, and then you want to find that District 6400 Foundation tab, and you'll find the application there.
And so you can contact anybody in the district governor group, the current district governor group, if you have questions, and please make sure you send it to the current district governor. Right now, of course, it'll be Tracy. Next October, it'll be me. That way we can keep it all together. And that's it, unless somebody has questions.
Thanks so
Hearing none.
much, Russ. I appreciate you helping us out tonight with that. So as stated earlier, we're here to be your resource. We're here to help you make your project successful. And that's what we want. We want to use the money that all of you have so graciously donated to the Rotary Foundation, to the, whether it's for the golf outing here in the district too. We want that money to go to good use so that we can all make this world just a little bit better of a place. So let us help you make a difference in your communities and make a difference around the world. And please contact us if there's something we could do to help you remember all the deadlines. If you don't remember them off the top of your head, because there's a lot, you can always find it either on the Rotary website, on our website. And of course, all you need to do is to send myself or Rick or Elvira an email, and we'll be happy to help and answer questions as we can. So with that, unless somebody has any other questions, do remember that a copy of this seminar will be on the district website, as well as the PowerPoint for you to review or to refer to or to give to other members who maybe couldn't join us tonight. We'll have it up there by the end of the weekend. And with that, For those who have spring breaks coming up or Easter holidays or Passover holidays that you're celebrating, whatever it might be, I wish you all the best and to be safe out there. Looking forward to seeing many of you at the district conference. And I bid all of you a good night and thanks so much for all that you do for Rotary.
So I just want to mention that it's Ramadan, so Ramadan Mubarak to those who are celebrating Ramadan.
And for all those as well, thank you. There's so many different holidays, so enjoy them, enjoy family time, be safe, and we will see you hopefully at district conference or someplace else real soon. Take care, everybody.